All right. So, got Will here again today, and we're going to talk about his experience, his first experience with ayahuasca. So, he just wrapped up with, we've talked about heroic hearts here on the podcast before. If you're a veteran and you have any interest in ayahuasca, just go ahead and sign up now. Go to, I think it's heroicheartsproject.com or org. Just Google it. It'll come up. Yeah. And yeah, sign up. It's awesome. It's a good organization. Jesse Gould is the man behind it. And you put your name on the list. And when it comes available, or what dates work for you, they're sending people to Peru. They're sending people to Jamaica for psilocybin. They're in the process of working with some ketamine clinics. They've got a lot going on. So if you're a veteran and you have any interest in psychedelic therapy, get on the list. I mean, take advantage of, you earned it. Like, go for it. So that being said, Will got there for what I think was an extended retreat, right? Was it longer than usual?
Yes. Okay. We did a 10-day research trip out to Peru, to the jungles. And basically the only difference was it was a few more days. And we also went with a crew of scientists down there, and we did EEG scans. We did stool samples, saliva samples, all sorts of cool stuff. We even did EEG scans during ceremony. So it was cool.
So what were your thoughts about going down? I mean, especially since we just wrapped up our episode about 5-MeO, were you hesitant about going back into that realm, even though it was ayahuasca, not 5-MeO?
Yeah. I even had a conversation with someone who was like, hey, last time you did DMT, like, let's think about this. Like, remember the fire that you walked through? I'm like, yeah, I hear that. But also the way that this came into my life was so divine. I was like, oh, I can't ignore this. I was having coffee with a friend, and she was talking about being in the jungle and ayahuasca and something. And he's like, oh, I want to do that. Like, that sounds like something that feels right to me. And that conversation was on Wednesday. On a Friday, I got an invite like, hey, would you like to go to the jungles with Heroic Hearts Project and do ayahuasca? I was like, oh, shit. Like, there's no way I could say no to that. I asked for it. I asked for it on Wednesday, and on Friday, I signed up. So it was really cool the way that happened. And I want to say, Jesse and Heroic Hearts Project and that team, those dudes are doing it so right. And gals, the preparation leading up to going to the jungle, we had 4 prep meetings. We got to see all the veterans that we were going to go up there with. We got to share. We got to really put our fears out on the table and just be open. And on top of that, we also got individual coaching, all provided by Heroic Hearts Project. So I had a coach. I met with them 3 times before I went to Peru about everything, setting intention, figuring out why. Even that's a question. Why? Why do you want to go to the jungle? Why do you want to disconnect and do this? And I think having just space to even think about it. It's one thing to sign up, but then they say, yes, now what? Yeah. Why? Why do you want to go? Why do you want to experience this? And so it was just so helpful to lead up that I feel that by the time that I flew into Peru, we flew into Iquitos. That was home based. I just felt like I knew why I was there. Yes, I was scared. Yes, I was nervous. And yes, I was like, oh shit, this is uncomfortable. But also it's like I was prepared to go. And so I think a lot of organizations can take some notes there. Mm-hmm. And especially when it comes to veterans, not just come in and let's do substances together. How about you prep people? How about you provide coaching and really ramp it up? We wouldn't just deploy without any kind of training or ramp up, so why would we deploy into psychedelics and think that it would be any different? Right. You got to prep. So I'm a big believer in that now, just because I've seen it and I've been part of it done the wrong way, in my opinion, quotation marks on the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And this is this feels so much better. And Heroic Hearts Project also partnered with, they're called the Hope Project. And they catch the spouses and the partners on the other side. So it's one thing to say, hey, I'm leaving to the jungle, but I'm leaving behind a bunch of people. I'm leaving behind my partner, my spouse. And so Hope Project comes in, and they also did meetings with them, once a week group meetings, talking about it, talking about us, normalizing things, shares, all of that. So I think that's also super important, because a lot of times people leave and they go and they do psychedelics, and then who's left at home? It's... Right. Someone's at home. And so I think that's beautiful. They're catching the veterans, they're prepping them, and they're also doing it for their partners. So just the whole way that it's set up, I'm a huge fan. But yeah, I was nervous, to answer your question. I was so nervous, especially because we were doing 5 ayahuasca ceremonies, not just one, it's 5 of them. I was like, oh shit, we're going back to the DMT world. So
were they night after night or a day apart, spaced?
So they were spaced out. When it was time to leave Iquitos, which was home base, we took about I think it was an hour and a half boat ride up the river into the jungle. We got there around 11 a.m. maybe. We got to our rooms, and then they're like, "Hey, just get ready. We're doing a ceremony tonight." And I'm like, oh shit! Right in. And so it was one on, one off. So in the 10 days, it was one every day, one every other day. I'm sorry. So yeah, it was right into it. And I could say that they do the ceremonies in something called a maloca, which is this beautiful tent, with super high cone ceilings, and it feels powerful. And so when I went in there and it was the first night and we're there, there's just an energy in there. You're like, oh man, there's 14 other veterans in there with us, scientists, the curandero, his name was Rono, the facilitators. There's tons of support, tons of support for the first ceremony. And I remember just being in there, it's a feeling that I know very well from going into the Wamkish, from going into the DMT. It's oh shit, it's this unknown, and I'm scared. It's scary. And I'm there, and it's too late. I'm not going to go home. So, we're here. And the way the ceremony goes is you're sitting around in a circle. We have our buckets there. They're big believers in using other plant medicines throughout the ceremony. So we had mapacho, which is jungle tobacco. We have agua de Florida. And so there's these tools there that are available in case things get too intense. You could pray to mapacho. You can pray to the other spirits to help you on your journey. And then one by one, we went up to the curandero. His name was Master Rono. That dude was so cool. He poured ayahuasca in this wooden bowl, and I just drank it, and I just didn't think anything of it. It was gross.
About how much do you think was in that bowl?
It was a full cup, a full ass cup, man. Yeah, it felt like a lot. I was gulping. I was like, damn, there's still more in here.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a good amount. And I went back and I sat down, and then everyone does the ayahuasca, and the room's lit by 2 candles, and so they blow them out. And now you're in pitch black. You're just in complete darkness. And I'm sitting there, my stomach's feeling really nauseous, really funky. And then the curandero starts singing, they call it Icaros. And they sing the whole time. That's the other crazy part, is they do not stop singing for 4 or 5 hours. They're singing these Icaros, these spirit songs. And so it's pitch black. I'm nauseous. They're singing these songs that feel powerful. They feel strong. They feel like there's I don't know, there's something to it. And then I finally was like, oh God, I got to throw up. Please let me throw up. I just feel so uncomfortable. The noise, the ayahuasca in my stomach, the not being able to see shit. I just need to throw up. And so finally I purged, and it was intense. It was just a deep purge. But once that purge happened, I was off. The trip had begun, and I was in there. I was with the spirits. I was dancing. I remember my hands were up. I was just like at a nightclub, just ooh, yeah, this is amazing. And that was my first night of experiences. I just danced all night, which was really cool because it was intense. It wasn't like I was having fun. I was having fun. I won't say that I wasn't, but it was an intense just dance the whole night. So that was number one. I was like, all right,
yeah,
I could do this, I think.
What were the visuals like on night one?
On night one, I don't think I saw visuals. I think I just felt it more than anything. I could just feel the spirits inside there. I can feel the songs. I can feel my body. It was. Yeah, there weren't too many visuals. And I think I was okay with that because I think people get lost sometimes in oh, I heard my friend said he saw this stuff and he saw this woman. And part of me is like, where are you, woman? But then the other part was like, dude, this is my experience.
Yeah.
I can't be looking for her if she's not going to show up.
Right.
So I'm glad that I checked myself pretty quick.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything. It must not be working. It's no, I'm dancing, man. This is pretty cool.
Did they give the option to redose that night?
Yes. Yeah, they gave that option every night. I did not take them up on that once.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I had to or even wanted to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so after the first night, the very next morning they do this thing called sangua. The whole retreat is the first 5 days are purge and extract. The next 5 days are fill you up and seal you up, like seal up your chakrunas, I think they called it. So the very next morning, day 2, they gave us this thing called dragon's blood, or sangre de guado, and we drank like a cup. And then we drank 2 liters of water following that and just threw up, the most violent throw up that I've ever experienced. And I've done a combo with you. This was along those lines of like extreme vomiting. And again, it's the extract, right? Like we got to purge. So you just purged doing ayahuasca last night. Now we woke up and the first thing we're doing is throwing up some more. It was day 2, day 3 was like, man, this sucks. Like everything was uncomfortable.
It was, already in the jungle.
Yeah, you're in the jungle. Everything's hot and the bugs are destroyed. I mean, I'm still jacked up from bug bites. The food is very purposeful. There's no salt. There's no oil. Very simple, bland food. You know, everything about it was extremely uncomfortable. And then you go in and do ayahuasca. It's interesting.
So in your days off, was there anything like what did a day off look like for you?
They were still pretty full. A day off, you wake up, you have breakfast around like 8, and then there was like 4 or 5 activities throughout the day, whether they be a breathwork thing. We did. I wish I could remember what it's called, but it was like you turn your body on to start shaking, and so you like somatic shake your body on demand. So stuff like that, singing circles, sharing circles, cacao ceremonies, other medicines. Like there was this one medicine that we took in the daytime where it like shocks your nervous system. So you drink it. Everything's disgusting. I just want to say that everything tastes disgusting. Even though they're different medicines, they all suck. But this nervous system, when you drink it, and the whole day we're buzzing. At least I just, if you could feel your nerves, all of them are buzzing. Your lips, your tongue, and it's like 8 hours of that, you know? So I feel like there was not much time for comfort. And I'll admit it, I think on day 7, I talked to one of the integration coaches, like, dude, I think I don't want to be here anymore.
So night 2 ayahuasca ceremony.
Night 2 ayahuasca ceremony. Same. I think at this point I'm exhausted. I'm drained. I've been throwing up a bunch. Sleep is difficult because it's just hot. You know, there's no escape. So not sleeping very well. And it was the same. It was go in, sit down, drink the ayahuasca. Very similar. Throwing up, purging, super uncomfortable. But this one had lessons attached to it other than dancing. You know, this time around, I think the most profound big thing that I took from this one was I was a sailboat. And I could see the sailboat that is me. And I remember having my arms up. And those were like my masts and my sails. And then as soon as I put them up, like wind came into the Maloka and it filled my sails and it just like took me. And it kept telling me, like, you're exactly where you need to be. Like, look at you. You're built for this. We're always going to fill your sail. Like, this was like the spirits. Just like, we got you. Everywhere you go, like, we got you. Just keep your sails up. You know, that's all you need to do. And that one hit me, man, because I feel like I've lived a life of pretending or feeling like I don't belong. Or even when people tell me, like, dude, you're fucking awesome. Part of me is like, what's the angle here? Because I don't believe that.
Telling me that?
Yeah. It's like I have a hard time with success. I have a hard time with feeling, I don't know, proud of myself or acknowledging that I'm cool. You know, I've hated myself for so long that it's hard to do that. And so I ask all the time, like, man, what am I doing? You know, like, am I in the right place? Am I doing the right things? And this was a moment of just like, yes, you're doing exactly what you needed to do. And we got you. Like, just keep going. And I just sailed my boat for that whole ceremony, just like sailing the boat that is me. But I was the boat, you know, like it was me. And so that was really, really powerful. I needed that. I needed that feeling. Again, you know, day off, breakfast, doing these different, you know, modalities and trainings and stuff. And the next ceremony that we had, on that one, there was a feeling where like my hands were on fire and they were glowing. And it was this feeling of like, oh shit, my hands are so powerful. Like I could do shit with my hands. My hands can create, they can destroy, they can build. Like I was in awe of my hands. It's like, oh, fuck, I have these hands that do stuff. You know, how cool that we can do things with our bodies. How cool that we can build and mold. And I just got lost in that feeling, like the feeling of, okay, day one, I'm a sailboat. I can do stuff. Day two, a closer look at my hands now and like the power that is me. And I needed it. It was one of those, the lessons that I got, I needed them so bad. And I didn't know how to ask for it. Like, how do you ask, like, oh, show me that my hands are powerful. Right. You know, like, show me that I'm a sail. Like, I couldn't. And so when they came, I was like, oh man, thank you so much, ayahuasca. Yeah.
So sailboat and hands situation, are you getting visuals night 2 and 3?
I'm getting like bright white triangles and like things moving around. But I had heard it, and you can see them everywhere. There's like paintings of ayahuasca trips, and you can see like the grandmother and snakes, and there's like things that everyone tends to see, or at least a majority of people talk about. I don't think I saw that once in the whole 5 ceremonies. Yeah, I never got to see like crazy visuals. That wasn't part of it.
Yeah, I mean, for some people it's visual, others it's not. Was there share circles the next morning?
Yes.
Okay. And did anybody talk about how they had very visual experiences?
Oh yeah. Okay. Absolutely.
Gotcha. I just didn't know if it was like that brew maybe was less visual than.
No, it was very present. It was very present. And I think it was good for me because I've been in other circles, like for example, the Wamkish, where some people are like falling over and seeing all these crazy shit. And like, we took the same amount of mushrooms. Yeah. I just had a different experience. Mine have always been very grounded in myself. Not to say I don't see visuals, but I think less, I just don't tend to see visuals too much.
The other 14 or so people that were there, what percentage of them seem to redose halfway through or take more?
Like one person.
That's it?
Yeah.
So it was probably pretty strong then.
It was intense. I remember maybe the second night, they're like, would anyone else like to take another dose? And someone across the room was like, fuck that.
Sometimes those little, like, they tell you to be quiet and they always want to be respectful and that kind of thing. But every once in a while, you get one of those little things that chimes in and it just lightens the mood funny. Yes. With all the laughter.
I was dying laughing because I felt like, yeah, fuck that. Why would I do more of this? Like, no way.
Because, man, a cup is a lot. I would say, like, the quote-unquote cup that I usually do, I would say is the equivalent to a quarter cup by measurement standards. And that's enough to put me in full-blown, like, visual states.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what a full cup of that would be.
Yeah.
But man.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that because on the last ceremony, I was done. I was mad. I was annoyed. I was angry. And it's weird to say that because even though I'm getting these messages, right? I'm getting these downloads. There's still part of me that just the baby in me came out. I was like, dude, it's fucking hot. And look at my legs. And I'm so itchy. And this food sucks. And like, I'm done, and we have more, like everything here sucks. And I just got lost in that. Like it was a real feeling where I was like, man, I'm miserable. But that was like my body speaking. I feel like my spirit's like, hey dude, like, look at us over here. Look at all the shit that we're learning. And I was like, yeah, I know. Shut up. I'm so miserable. And so the last night I went in there with a shitty attitude. Yeah. I went in there really shitty. And even in the cup, like I drank the smallest sip, and I gave it back to Master Rono. And part of me was like a little rebellious maybe in there. Like, you gave me this full cup, but I'm just going to take this small sip and hand it back to you. Even though that's totally okay. Mm-hmm. Not once that like you have to finish this. You can take as much or as little as you want.
Oh, okay.
There's no offense taken, but in my head I was like, I only took a small little sip, and fuck all this. And then I sat down and that was the most difficult journey that I had. Yeah. I had been drinking 5 times the amount of ayahuasca before this. And this was the tiniest sip and it jacked me up, man. Like it was so hard. In the moment, I was like, why? How is this possible? Like I barely had any. What's going on? And I think the Mama Ayahuasca was like, all right, dude, here we go. Like, I'm going to check your attitude. But in a loving way, not like a vicious anger. It was like a loving, like, hey, you're going to learn today. we're going to put you in. Because I would say, apart from throwing up, my other trips were pretty enjoyable.
Yeah.
And this one was not. And thank God I had my throw up buddy next to me. She's actually from San Diego as well. Her name is Becky. Shout out to Becky. She was there with me, and she was like, hey, I need breathe. Because I was losing it. I was losing it in all the madness. And that helped a lot to have that connection and have someone there, like, just remind me, like, just to breathe. And then we had one of the facilitators. His name was Pancho. And he came up to me, and he was there. He blew me with mapacho. He sprayed agua de Florida on me. And I remember he put my hand on my chest, and he's like, connect with your heart. Connect with your heart. Connect with your heart. And I felt it. And I felt my heart, and then I almost like put my heart in my hands, and it was my heart. And I could feel and see all the pain that it had gone through, all the love that it had gone through, all the hard times, everything. But it was like, it's my heart, and it's in my hands. And it was such a big moment to be like, oh shit, I have a heart. I have this beautiful thing that has pumped my entire existence, and it's mine, and it has felt hurt, and it has felt heartbreak, and it has felt love, and it has felt everything, and this is mine. How beautiful that I have this fucking heart. And I held my heart all night, and I was just holding it and looking at it and loving it and almost in awe of my heart that I have. And it was just so beautiful. It was so beautiful to, like, how simple of a statement to say, I have a heart. Everyone has a heart, but this is my heart. And this is the heart that has gotten me to this point. And I just loved on my heart. And it was big. It was big to just like, oh shit, look at this thing. Yeah. And that was that experience where it was like, again, I went in there shitty. I thought I'd gamed the system, and the spirits know what's up, man. I truly believe that. I believe that there's spirits in all those medicines, and something that we can't know. They just exist. And they're like, you're going to pull your heart out today, and we're going to just touch it and look at it. And, that was it. And it was beautiful, and it was sweet, and it was difficult too, like to say, I'm going to pull my heart out of my chest and just hold it. And feel the sadness too. Right. I felt all the things. I felt the heartbreaks and felt them all over again. I was like, oh man, thank you, heart. You're still here, and you're still doing it. And, it was beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have ways of interacting with this world, being controlled by gut instinct, being guided by our heart, or being guided by our mind. And I think so many people run off of just gut instinct and mind. And I think too often, so many people have the heart shut off. And that's, I think, the most powerful experiences I've heard anybody have through any psychedelic experiences is unlocking the heart. I think for so many of us, it was just locked and closed off. And I don't know when mine sealed up, but it was gone for so many years. And like that whole, I heard the comment said so many times in my life, you can't love others until you love yourself. And it was like, until that heart unlocked and I could have that love for myself, I was like, I wasn't loving other people. Yeah. Like I pretended, and I did what I see in movies and around me that people say what loving is, and I would try to mimic that, but I couldn't truly love anybody until that heart was unlocked and I could love this thing. And yeah, it just like, when that happened, the world got brighter. Yeah. Like I enjoyed being around people more often. Like I enjoyed my day to day more often. And it's like, you can't explain that to people, but I want everybody to have it. That's what like pushes me on this path to want to just facilitate these experiences for other people, whether it starts with ketamine and MDMA being legal, or it progresses to psilocybin, to ayahuasca, whatever's available. Talk to me about night 5 was difficult. What was the difficulty? Was it experiences that you were re-encountering? Was it the pain in your body that you were feeling prior to the focusing on the heart and unlocking it? What was the difficulty that you had on night 5?
Yeah. So I got to experience every relationship that I had, all of them, every single one. I walked through all of them, and I could feel all the times where I was disingenuous, all the times where I was fake, all the times where I lied, all the times that I hurt people, all the times I got to see my roadmap in relationships, all of them, and just see like, oh, that's where I fucked up, or that's where I should have zagged and I zigged instead. And it was hard to see that. It was hard to see my relationships and see my part in them and be honest about it, and not just like, oh, fuck them or whatever. It was a genuine look at myself, and it was hard to look at myself, and it's always been an issue for me. But this was done with like loving eyes. This was done with like kindness, not like berating me or like, look at this, you asshole, or like it was different, but it was still hard to just see all the times where I wasn't true to myself. And that was another download, is like, hey, if you're going to continue living life on earth, you need to show up with your light. You need to show up the way that you are. You need to stop putting filters over your light because you're in a certain room and people, that's a skill that I've always had, is I could read a room. So I could show up and be like, okay, who do I need to be for this? How do I need to be for this? What I know the answer, but what do you need me to say? Right? Like I've
become an actor. You're not real at that point.
Yeah. And I've lived that for 30 plus years of just being that way. And so in seeing all the times where I fucked up, this was the opportunity for you to show up as genuine you. This is where, if you would have been genuine, if you would have said the truth, if you would have said what's on your mind, this goes different. And so on the way out of that, it was like, you have to show up as yourself. You have to. Like, if you want to do anything different, if you want to go back out of this jungle and live a better life, you need to show up like you, as you will, as the light that you are, and not cover things up and not say things because it sounds better. Yeah. And I think that the hard part again was that feeling all those things, going back through all the heartbreak, all the moments of shame, all the moments of like, this sucks, and feeling it. It's not like, oh, I remember. No, I'm in there. I am in the moment. I'm feeling it all over again, and that's not fun.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear you say that, because for me, is what ayahuasca was most powerful for, is that life review. And I've done it multiple times, and I've gone all the way through childhood and then to before birth, which is crazy too to even talk about. Like, I can't even wrap my head around seeing in the womb and seeing before the womb, but it's that life review. And yeah, you tend to see the things that suck the most. I don't really ever see any of the cool stuff whenever I go back through there. It's always just like, this is where you fucked up, but that's where you learn. Yes. You know what I mean? It's like, you can forgive yourself for what you did there. And it's like, if I ever come across any of those people, a few of them I can apologize. I can be like, yo, what I did was fucked up, and I know that now. And like, I think if it was gnarly enough that it left a scar in me somewhere, it probably left one in them as well. And I think that's the biggest thing, is the only way to heal that scar is you can forgive yourself, but then you have to apologize as well. And it's like, when you get both sides of that equation done, and like, that's where it's interesting, this whole, like, that's what a lot of the AA policy is, like that kind of thing. They try to promote that, but I don't know. I mean, you can just say you forgive yourself, but it's like, until you've been in that realm and witnessed it, that's when you can truly be like, yeah, I fucked up, and I can let that go. Yeah. And
I could say that it was a physical feeling, though, like to let go. There was so much of forgiveness in those journeys where I could feel the forgiveness. It wasn't just a word that I said. Yeah. It was like coming out of my body, almost like it was ripped out of my body, put in front of me, and like, talk to this. Say I forgive you. Say I love you. Say like whatever you need to do, and then it would like go away. But like when like back in the day, you could like wave to your friends at the airport, and they're getting on the plane, they're leaving, they're gone. Yeah. You see the plane leave, it's not coming back. It was that kind of goodbye of like, hey, goodbye. You're gone. You're flying, and you're not coming back.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was similar for you, but those life reviews and those difficult moments, I feel it too. Like, it manifests not only as nausea, but like joint pain. And like,
Yes.
like if you're sitting in a car for too long or sitting on a plane for too long and like your butt hurts, it's like that kind of stuff through my whole body. It just, my body hurt. And, you know, I would think of it as like, I'm just in a bad position or I need to move. But it was one of those things where I would move to this position, I hurt. If I moved to this position, I hurt. If I moved to this position, I hurt. But then whenever I purged or let go, I was comfortable. So it's like, it wasn't the position you were in, it was the demons that needed to come out. And once you let it go, it's like the body is just like, okay, cool. Like, and that's where it really shows you the whole somatic thing where things that you experience in life, traumatic moments, manifest within the body. Like that to me, it's not a theory. It's true. Like I experienced it. Like and I can then know that specific instance resides here within the body because that's where I felt it. And then when I let it go, that goes away.
Yeah.
So it's a trip. And I mean, I know it sounds crazy. Like we probably sound like two madmen right now.
You nailed it,
it's
though.
like when you've been there and you've seen it and you felt it, there's no denying it anymore.
Yeah. And I say the word ripped out of me because it felt like that. It felt like an actual physical thing was ripped out of my body on its way out in front of me, you know, and absolutely. It was like I could feel it in my body, all those things.
Yeah.
They weren't, again, and that's where I think, again, it's like to say I forgive you is the word, but to have it ripped out of you and touch it and squeeze it and hold it and then say, I love you, I forgive you. That to me was like, oh, that's real forgiveness.
Yeah.
Now I could really let this go.
Yeah.
And I did. I let so much shit go in there. I said goodbye to so many things.
Yeah.
In those ceremonies. Just like, all right, goodbye. I love you.
So night 1 dancing, night 2 sails, night 3 hands, night 5 holding the heart.
Yeah.
What was 4?
I wish I could remember, man.
Nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy.
Gotcha.
Nothing crazy. Yeah, it's those 10 days at the end of it kind of all squished into each other. There's no phones, there's no time, there's no it's just hot, throwing up, medicines, lessons, time to yourself, lots of journaling, you know, it was just everything at once. It felt like I can say that when we got on the boat to leave, I was like, oh yes.
Yeah.
Let's
Done with the jungle.
I'm done with the jungle. But also as I left, I was like, oh, my life changed there. I remember like leaving the village and it was like, wow, that's where it happened. This is the moment. This is the place where I know I'm going back different. I know it. I know it. I feel different. My thoughts are different. My love for myself is different. I touch my chest now and like, hey, heart, you know, hi, little buddy. I love you. I know you're in there. You know, I just, that 10 days in the jungle to me was the most life-changing psychedelic experience that I've had. And I've had a lot.
Yeah.
But that was the one that just did it. It just, I feel it. I feel the change. I feel different. I really do, in a good way. And and I've got to test it already in a few ways of like show up, shine my light, be who I'm going to be. Because I've come back to the States, and it's not that anything's easier. All the stuff's still there. All the difficult conversations are still there. All the low days are still there, you know. But now I'm walking through them true. Or as true as can be, you know. I'm doing it different. I'm having difficult conversations instead of just saying like, oh, if I say this, I'm out of this.
Yeah.
We don't have to have this conversation. Now I'm like, all right, here's a moment where I get to exercise this new me, and I think that's what integration is.
Yeah.
I think at its core, that's what it is. You got these downloads. All right, put them to use. Apply them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that back up because that's kind of a thing that I saw too, was that I always played this character. And I learned it very young. It was like, if you don't want to get picked on in school, you play this character. If you want to fit in here, you play that character. And then so you get to a point where I think you don't even know who you are anymore. And what I've found is when I genuinely became me, who I am, I became a magnet for just beautiful people. So it's like you can play whatever part you want. You can fit into any crowd, but when you really are who you are supposed to be, it seems like everything in life just comes where it's supposed to be. So I think the further you stray off that path, the more kind of obstacles are thrown in your way to try to steer you back to you. And I mean, there's a lot of lessons to learn on those paths, but life is just a lot more enjoyable when you are genuinely who you are supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoyable is the word, but I think to me a good lesson that I've come to like embrace is like all of this is still here. All just because I did ayahuasca and I feel different doesn't mean I don't have problems. Doesn't mean I don't have bad days. Doesn't mean all of that exists still, and that's okay. I get to walk through the shitty days different. It's still a shitty day, right? Like and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. If I could say anything, it's like, yeah, do psychedelics, explore things, but like that expectation of like, oh, I'm fixed, everything's fine now. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if you could ever get fixed.
And are you ever broken? You know
right.
what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And you feel this way, but what happens when your dog dies? Is that going to be okay? Like, no, that sucks.
Yeah.
You know, and that's okay that things suck. But you just get to walk through the suck with love, with compassion, with a more a genuine idea of like who I am. And I appreciate that. You know, I have shitty days, but they're true. They're true to me, you know. They're my shitty days. I own them. It feels better for me, and I think that's where I'm at. You know, someone's like, "Oh, beware of the honeymoon glow." You know, you come back from ayahuasca and everything's beautiful and gorgeous, and I'm glad that I got through that like within day one. I was like, "No, life is here, and all these things exist, and that's okay."
Yeah. I really love your video diaries that you've been uploading on Instagram from there. Share your Instagram with people.
Yeah, it's Touring My Life, at Touring My Life. But yeah, I recorded a bunch of like little vlogs, and I'm going to just release them sporadically.
Yeah.
They were helpful for me, and I was like, oh, why don't I share this with people?
And it's cool because you're there. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about this after all is said and done, and it's wrapped up, and you've unpacked, and you've integrated, and it's cool to see like the freshness come out because, you know, I'll write my diary and everything, but it's like, it's cool to have like a video, like to really see what the experience was. But the one that you just dropped, you said that you had to sit down with the maestro afterwards, and you explained what was going on, and he prescribed a specific medicine to you?
Yes.
What was that?
It was some green juice. It was like for sleep. Yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but they had like 20 different things on deck for all sorts of things, like blood circulation and sleep and hair and like whatever. They had like a solution for everything.
Yeah. That's my biggest draw to the jungle because like, I can do ayahuasca here. You know what I mean? That you can find underground ayahuasca places all over the country, but I'm fascinated by the medicines of other cultures. You know what I mean? They predate Western science by so many years. You know what I mean? So it's like Chinese medicine fascinates me, acupuncture, all that kind of stuff, and the meridians in the body and the channels. And that's so far before our medicine system. And the things that they do, they truly seem like miracles in the healing. But it's like, they're in this jungle that has more plants per square inch than anywhere else on the planet. Yeah. And of course they figured out what all these plants are capable of. And that's where I'm like, that's the main reason I want to get myself into the jungle is be like, hey, whatever this autoimmune stuff I have going on, like what else you got for me? Like the mental stuff, I've dove in, and not to say I've handled all of it. I'm sure there's still some more stuff that needs unpacking, but what else you got that we can throw in this system that can help me out? Like that's where I want to get into the jungle.
And they've got it. They've got it for everything. Like again, that buzzing thing that I told you about. My buddy was buzzing for all day. And it was like, that's to reset your nervous system. I was like, all right, it's definitely doing something in my nervous system.
Yeah. I mean, how nervous were you with that? Just taking random concoctions from Medicine Man in the Jungle.
I think I've said it a bunch. It's like, for me, like in my journals and stuff, like I just got to trust. Yeah. I just got to trust this. Yeah. I don't know anything else. Who am I to say, no, that's not true? Right. You know, I just got to trust it and take it and see what happens. And I did. And they did so many things there that were like, we did vapor baths where they like put you under this tarp with this hot ass pot of water that has like 12 different like master plants. I think they called them like ayahuasca and mapacho. And I couldn't tell you what was in there. But again, it's like, who am I to be like, oh, that's silly. That doesn't work. Like you're under a tarp sweating your ass off with this vapor. It's like they say it works. All right, I'm going to trust it. I'm going to be uncomfortable and just sit in here. Yeah. And just try it, you know, and just see what happens. I can't say that it didn't work because I feel fucking great. Yeah. So I just trusted it. But it's funny that in that video that I shared yesterday, I said something. I forgot that I said it. He brought up that my body was so wild that my spirit was afraid to go in. And I was like, oh, wow. That I felt it when he said that. I was like, yes, I've lived a wild man's life. I just the craziest shit. I wanted it. I thrived in chaos, and throw me in the fire. I want it. Burn me. Give me that shit. And when he said that, I felt it so hard. I was like, man, I was so reckless with my body that my spirit's like, dude, we're not going in there.
I mean, yeah, I think if you had all the monsters, why would you go to where the monsters are?
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
It's like if you got to that point where finally they got too powerful and they were running this vehicle, and your soul was just like, I'm going to step aside because I can't handle that right now. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But I was like, that feels right. No wonder I felt so disconnected from so many things.
Yeah.
Those guys know a lot. That's the other thing is like these maestros, they've been doing it forever. They're not some guy that took an online course. Not that that's the other thing. I would love to get your take on this of like people doing ayahuasca and facilitating stuff in the States. Do you have to be a 40-year-old or 40-year maestro that's lived in the jungles, or is it possible to learn and bring it back? I feel like a lot of people are poo-pooing on that. Like, oh, you're not from the lineage. You shouldn't be serving this stuff.
Yeah, so as far as I know, Hamilton Souther, I don't know if you've heard of him, he runs Blue Morpho, which is in Peru. As far as I've heard, he's the only white man to ever be taken into Shipibo lineage and taught to be a true shaman. And that being said, a lot of other Shipibo shamans were not happy that they allowed him to come in, but who trained him claimed that he saw this white man in a vision who he was supposed to teach. And then when he saw him, he was like, oh, you are him. And it's like it's some movie stuff. You know what I mean? It's like a Star Wars essentially episode, but this guy was brought in, taught to be a shaman, and other shamans, when he would drink the ayahuasca and go in, would battle him because they weren't happy with him trying to learn their lineage. And so it really was like hazing for him to get through. And so this guy has thousands of ayahuasca experiences. So it took him, I think it was like 20 years he's been studying as a Shipibo shaman. But what Blue Morpho is doing right now is they're trying to develop a program that is a shortened version. So he says, like, look, you do need to learn how to work with these things because the wrong things can come through from the other side. And when you need to prevent them from coming through, or if they do get through, you need to know how to expel them from the person that comes in. So essentially be able to conduct that exorcism if necessary. Yeah. And so I do think some of the people that are here in the US that are just handing out ayahuasca to people, I think that it can be a little bit dangerous. I've had amazing experiences with the people that I work with, and she did some sort of studying in Peru and Brazil, but I don't know what credentials she would have. She brews the ayahuasca herself and holds space, but what I can tell you is when you were suffering and they had you put your hands on your heart and talk you through it, when I was going through fucking hell, no one had me. I was just suffering, you know what I mean? And like, something as simple as probably like holding my hand to know that I was real, that I existed, that I was still alive would probably have helped me. But maybe I learned from that, you know what I mean? Like that, at least I know that if I see somebody going through that, ground them, convince them to breathe, whatever. Like there was nothing, like I wouldn't have thought, oh, I can just breathe and know that I'm here and it's okay. It's like, no, I could open my eyes for a split second, kind of see that something was here, this weird dysmorphed world of demons around me, and then my eyes would shut again. Like I couldn't keep them open. It was the scariest shit. And it's like, I really wish somebody could have helped me through that. And if somebody could have helped me find my heart at that point, would it have changed? And would I have learned a lot more from that experience? Because that was the highest I've ever been dosed on ayahuasca ever. And so if I was steered back on track, could I have learned something amazing that night? Probably. So that's where I think there was a little bit of malpractice. I don't know what the word is. I'm looking for that, for allowing me to go off the rails like that. So I think that there should be a better training situation for people to call. And don't get me wrong, she doesn't call herself a shaman. She says that she's a facilitator, and I respect that. But I think for the people who are coming there seeking some next level healing, that it takes a healer to do that. And I don't know. I think for some of those shamans, I don't even think the way that it works is the patient doesn't even need ayahuasca. The shaman can take it, get into the realm, see what's out of whack, and then in the same way that he gave you some green juice, he could just be like, okay, I'm looking in your body, this is what's messed up, let me sing this Icaro, or let me concoct a medicine for you that I learned while I was in here. You don't ever have to do it. We got to the point where we're just like, we love psychedelics, and we're like, let me get in there too, let's see what's up.
I'm so glad you said that, because and speaking to the villagers, they're like, we don't do ayahuasca.
Yeah.
I was like, what? You live here? What do you mean you don't do ayahuasca? It's like, oh, it's the curandero does the ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And we sit in a circle, and we part of the Icaros, and he exactly like you said, he can see our lines, he can see our chakrunas, and like, see what we need. And it's us, it's Westerners like, hey, we want to do ayahuasca. They're like, all right, come in here, man.
But I think that's what it is, it's easy to get in there and get lost in the colors and the beautiful spaces and everything else. And I think it's very important to do a life review. I think that's how you find you. And I think that before you can become a shaman or a healer, whatever you want to call it, I think you need to balance this thing out. And so it's like, you need to get to the point where, the first time you get into a psychedelic realm, it's so overwhelming. The walls breathing, the clouds dysmorphing, there being patterns on everything. You're like, wow,
madness.
What is this? Yeah, it's just, it's beautiful. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. But I think the more times you get in there, the less overwhelming it is. And I think that when you can get to a sense of peace and calm in there, that's when you start to unlock these powers. And that you can, if I'm looking at you and your face is getting bigger and smaller and whatever, I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Then I'm not focusing on, what do I see that's out of whack here? What needs some work here? And I've still had a lot of interest with, I've heard people talk about psilocybin massage before, where both the massage therapist and the client take psilocybin. And I'm fascinated by it because when you hear the Huichol Indians talk, they take peyote, and then, have you seen Huichol art where it's all beaded? What they say is they can see that beaded artwork on people. And then where there's a flaw in the pattern, that's where the problem is. And so whether it's playing music or singing or putting hands on that flaw, the pattern, it restores. And then people will have like cancer disappear. Just stuff that seems like miracles. But it's like, I think that's what it is when you have enough time, and I'm talking that Hamilton Souther guy, thousands of ayahuasca experiences. So it's like when you can get in there and it's no longer overwhelming, it's no longer crazy, you know how to navigate that space, you know how to keep the bad guys away, you know how to bring the light in. And I think that's where these X-Men superpowers come from, or like being able to heal. But it's again, it can get so scary in there. Like, I don't think the average person wants to do 1,000 psychedelic trips to get to that point.
Yeah, I know I don't. I did the 5. I was like, I think I'm done for a while, and I don't. That's the other thing, is I don't feel the need to like come home and be like, dude, let me serve you ayahuasca.
Right.
I have so much respect.
I wouldn't give anybody ayahuasca.
Never, ever, ever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I wouldn't do with people. I could definitely feel comfortable sitting with someone.
Yeah.
And like holding space, but it's like to say, hey, I'm going to open up the spirit worlds. I got you. It's like, dude, I know. There's no way.
Yeah.
And that's something I would urge people. Like, go do your homework, do these ceremonies, fly to Ecuador, fly to Peru, wherever you're going, but ask questions. Who's doing this? Who's giving you these substances? How many facilitators are there? Like you said, your experience, you wish someone would have held you. We had 6 people in there with us that weren't on ayahuasca taking care of us. I've seen some places where like there's 40 people in ceremony, like 4 people holding it down. It's like, that doesn't feel like those numbers add up.
I don't even think 40 people in ceremony, regardless of the amount of facilitators. It just seems like a bad move to me. I don't know. That's too much.
Yeah. It feels like, let's maximize the
profit. Yeah. And again, I come back to every veteran listening to this. Heroic Hearts, they've done the vetting for you. They've found the good places. They can get you there. They have the prep work. Was there post integration?
Yes, absolutely. And we're still in it. We do group integration afterwards. I think I have 6 more calls with the coach that I was assigned, Steve. Shout out to Steve. They pick you up, they take you there, and they catch you on the way out. And I think that's how it should be done. And same thing with the spouses. My partner through the Hope Project, she's on her list now to go to Mexico for a retreat through the Hope Project. So it's why not? How much sense does it make to heal the the combat veteran and not help out the spouse.
Yeah.
You know, they're curious too. Like, what the hell? You know, you're coming back all smiling and laughing, and I'm still feeling all my stuff. You know, so yes, I would say to everyone, Heroic Hearts Project, just from my personal experience, has been life-changing, has been helpful. They've been there through every step of the way, for my partner as well. And I would definitely recommend them as someone to look into if you're curious about it. And they're not the only ones.
Yeah.
But I hope that all the other ones can take a note out of their playbook and just say like, hey, this is how you do this.
Right.
This is how you help the veterans. You don't just give us substances and say, see you later.
Yeah. I think that's probably a good place to end it, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I'm so glad to see you back here full of smiles, the Will that I know.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Thank you.
Love you, brother.
I love you too, brother.
All right. Love you guys.